Before we begin, I would like to advertise my books, Above Heaven and Dance of Frozen Death. If you like my takes on storytelling, please consider giving them a read. Links in the description. Now, on with the video.
I love this man.
Greetings, fellow mortals. I have found a trend with LGBT plus couples in media. They're not given a lot of justice, meaning they're not written very well, even in things that I do like. The first thing that comes to mind would be something like Hill House, where the lesbian character's relationship was given significantly less time to develop. Legend of Korra, where the ending pairing wasn't even hinted at until the fourth season. Even then, it kinda came out of nowhere. Or something like Ratchet, which is a show that completely fell apart. Or The Haunting of Bly Manor, which has one of the worst and most boring first episodes that I have ever seen. Or Modern Family, where Mitch and Cam's dynamic failed to evolve at any point during the show. In fact, they had the same exact storyline and argument over and over and over again. Or even with something like Adventure Time. I know that a lot of people like Marceline and Princess Bubblegum, but there's two problems with that. You can tell that wasn't planned in their characters at the start of the show, which is lame, and two, Princess Bubblegum is legitimately the most evil character in that show. Even more than the physical embodiment of death, because he's at least a force of nature. Bubblegum made her own creations dumb on purpose so that she could control them, and then she manipulates the world in a way that brings terrible suffering to everyone. Yeah, that's not exactly a happy couple if you think about it a little too much.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It feels as though LGBT plus relationships aren't given the time to cook, to marinate, to evolve, to show the dynamic. And I haven't seen everything that exists. I have heard there are some good couples out there. Unfortunately, I feel like a creep when I try to watch Euphoria. I know that all of the actors are adults, but watching underage characters do drugs and have sex isn't my thing. I just couldn't get into that one. Or with Schitt's Creek. I haven't been able to get into that show either because the humor just doesn't click with me. And I swear to you, if someone suggests Steven Universe or Orange is the New Black as great examples of LGBT plus one more time, I just find it frustrating. It seems like the bar is really low because of how things used to be, because LGBT people weren't as embraced even a few years ago, and they're still not in many ways. I get that. So I do understand with a few examples, especially stuff in children and family entertainment. Don't forget that Disney killed Strange World. My theory is because they were pressured by countries across the world. At the same time, Frasier and Will and Grace came out a long time ago. We know that gay people and couples can be written well. I just want to see unique stories, actual characters with human flaws, and relationships that are strong, like with Bill and Frank from The Last of Us, or Raymond and Kevin from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I've only had Arlo for a day and a half, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself.
Captain Raymond Holt may very well be one of my favorite characters in television, and not just LGBT plus characters in general. He's a stoic, logic-focused man of principle. He's worked harder and for longer than the majority of his peers on the force. He's faced discrimination for his skin color and sexuality for the majority of his life. At the same time, he doesn't let it make him bitter. He doesn't blame anyone as long as they accept him and are fair to him. He treats everyone fairly and encourages them to be who they truly are. All he asks is for that they strive to be the best possible versions of themselves. He's a man of justice. He believes in the ideals of the police, even if he knows how flawed the people in the system can be. Holt has never compromised who he is while trying to improve the world from inside that system. He could have quit at any point. I don't think that anyone would have looked down on him for it. But his stubbornness and his desire to be a positive influence pushed him forward. At the same time, Holt does have his flaws. He does struggle to show his emotions and to open up to the people around him. He can be moody and uncompromising. He makes mistakes, but he does admit to them. Plus, he has the funniest sequence that makes me die laughing every single time I see it.
I said you two need a bone.
How dare you, Detective Diaz? What happens in my bedroom, Detective, is none of your business.
So the fight with Kevin is over?
Yep.
Because you understand the math now?
Nope.
Because you guys...
Yep.
And I do like the character implications of this bit. Does Holt feel awkward talking about boning because of the discrimination that he's experienced? Is it because he's an older man? Because he's at work and he feels that it's inappropriate? Is it just because he's cranky? Is it because he's frustrated that Rosa is right? There are so many implications and interpretations to this scene. And that's the genius of Holt's character. It has subtlety to it. He's been shaped by his upbringing, his original personality, and the circumstances that he faced as an adult. It's simultaneously hilarious, endearing, and perhaps a little sad if you think about it too much. That's what I want. I want LGBT characters to receive that level of writing, that level of thought, that level of care, because they deserve it. They deserve more Raymond Holts, and they deserve more relationships like Raymond and Kevin, because those two are great together. You can see why they connect, why they get along, but also their differences and the frustrations that Holt's job brings on the relationship. In comparison to Brooklyn Nine-Nine's many seasons, those two characters don't get the most screen time together ever, but they make the most of it. That's an important aspect of storytelling that I don't think a lot of people appreciate. You have to make what's happening matter in some way, otherwise it's just filling time. You can enjoy it, but I, for one, hate filler. And there are many aspects of the situations around Holt that tickle me. As time goes on, Holt comes to enjoy Jake's antics more. Holt not only accepts many aspects of his quirky subordinates, he borderline internalizes them so that he can relax a bit more. I love how Jake reverse adopts Raymond and Kevin as his dads, how Holt's arch nemesis is a woman who hates him because she fell in love with him and he's gay. How many shows would be that bold right now? Not many, and I love the show for it. And he's also unique because he's in a relationship where they don't have children and they don't particularly want children. You'd be surprised by how little that is represented in media nowadays. Raymond and Kevin had serious discussions about why they didn't want kids and then had to justify it to everyone else because everyone is nosy busybodies. Trust me, I know that one from experience.
Hey, shut up! No, you shut up!
What I find surprising is that Holt isn't held up as one of the highest standards of LGBT representation in not just television, but in all forms of entertainment. I did some researching online about articles of best LGBT characters, and he is hardly ever brought up. Is it because he's already in a relationship? I know it's not as saucy and spicy to have people in happy relationships at the start of a show, but I think it's refreshing in this case. Is it because he's not as flamboyant as other characters? Holt has a pride flag in his office at all times. He never tries to hide it. He's not a caricature or anything. He's proud of that aspect of him though, just as he's proud of his skin color, his work as a police officer, and his relationships with his subordinates, as he should be. Is it because Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a comedy? Does a show need to be serious at all times to be held up for its amazing writing? Is it because Holt's sexuality is not the most important aspect of him in the show? Everyone just accepts that he's gay, and that's how it should be. It's addressed, but no one has a problem with it. Does the lack of drama make him less of an icon for Pride Month? I just find it fascinating because Brooklyn Nine-Nine seems to be the gold standard of representation in almost every single way. There's a reason why the show lasted so long, and I'm grateful for the popularity that it did gain, but I'm also frustrated that more writers aren't taking examples from this amazing character because I love Captain Raymond Holt. And I would readily disagree with anyone that doesn't like him. If you have a problem with him, maybe I need to change your perspective just a little bit. Personally, I learned a lot of lessons from Holt as a character with my own writing. I have a lesbian character in Above Heaven who is the third most important character after Ohana and Ralph, and with the recent book that I wrote, I kept Holt in mind as I developed a gay couple, because I think writers should remember that LGBT characters are people first. The writing put into their personalities and relationships should be just as thought out as hetero characters. I hold writing and storytelling to the highest standards possible. Every single aspect of it. Plot, characters, setting, everything. And in this case, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Captain Raymond Holt set the highest standard possible. And I can only hope that I and many other writers can hope to match that bar or possibly even raise it. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and to keep the discussion going. And please consider giving my books Above Heaven, Dance of Frozen Death, and Vows of Blood and Honor, which will be released in September, a chance. I appreciate you. Do not despair.